3 weeks are now in the books for the NFL season, and we get treated to an amazing Thursday night football matchup between the Detroit Lions and the Green Bay Packers. This is going to be an amazing game, as these two teams are clearly the top 2 teams in the NFC North. So huge divisional implications, both for like wild card playoffs, but also then just division winners as well. It should be an amazing game Thursday night in Lambeau. But yeah, it quickly start off 3 games into the season. This division is kind of shaping up about how we thought it would be. Vikings and Bears are reeling. Both 0-3, not looking off to be a good start. So this game, huge implications. Just to take firm control of the division lead as early as possible for both the Lions and Packers.
Yeah, definitely. We had mixed feelings about the Packers. They were kind of hard to predict, especially with Jordan Love coming in. They had a really young receiver room. I'm really curious to see if Christian Watson and Aaron Jones come back for this game, because I think if they do, that might sway my pick a little bit in this matchup. But this is going to be one of the best Thursday night games I think we get all year. These aren't always guaranteed to be this big, and it's crazy to me that this game already has such a big impact, because this is to go to 3-1 and take a 2-game lead basically in the division with the tiebreak already. So I'm looking forward to it. Let's kind of get into, I guess, the injuries, because that I think is probably like the biggest part of this. And so on the Lions side, Taylor Decker, Matt Nelson, Dan Skipper, and Hola Pulavati Vaitai, I have no idea if I said that right.
That's about how I would have pronounced it. Yeah.
Are all injured. Vaitai was inactive. I think Matt Nelson and Dan Skipper, did they play on Sunday?
Yeah. So Taylor Decker is a starting left tackle. He has not played in the past 2 weeks. Vaitai got hurt during the Seahawks game. And so Penei Sewell had to kick over to the left tackle spot. He's been playing that for a couple weeks now. So Matt Nelson started at the right tackle, but he got hurt. And his backup, Dan Skipper, who they signed this week just to add depth, and he got hurt during that game as well. Skipper was a hamstring injury, while Nelson was an ankle injury. This is just I want to talk about these first for the Lions, just because of how important the offensive line is in general for any team in the NFL, but particularly this one, a team with a dynamic running back in Jahmyr Gibbs, and then David Montgomery, who missed the Week 3 game against the Falcons, is healthy. That if they're able to have a good offensive line to protect the running game, that's going to only open things up more in the passing game for Jared Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown. And so that was one of the things. Lions did beat the Falcons 20-6. But in general, though, they were able to keep Goff fairly clean. They did get some pressures. And I think that's where the Falcons were able to exploit a little bit, but they were able to counteract a lot of the pressures. And so, but just consistently being able to do that with backup third string offensive linemen, it's not something I would want to put all my chips on. If I'm the Lions. So defensively, the Lions, C.J. Gardner-Johnson is, I'm pretty sure is on IR, but he did not play.
He's on IR.
Okay, yeah. So, but that being said, though, Brian Branch filled in tremendously. So I think that they are going to be okay there. Packers-wise, with the injuries, in the Week 3 game and injuries to monitor, Devondre Campbell got hurt. Also, Carrington Valentine. Both of those players got hurt and did not come back into the game. So those would be injuries to monitor if they'll also play in Week 4. But as you mentioned, the key stories for the Packers injury-wise, Christian Watson and Aaron Jones have not played. Aaron Jones had played in Week 1, but had a little hamstring injury that then they just haven't come back and played. And they would love to have him back, just to have the overall dynamicness of him in the backfield. Then Christian Watson as well. He hasn't played all season. And this offense still, to Matt LaFleur's credit, amazing offensive performance overall, being able to scheme guys open. Dominant win in Week 1. Had good offensive performance for 3 quarters against the Falcons, and then a good comeback victory in the win against the Saints. I'd like to see a little more consistency overall, I would say, from the Packers offense. And I think that's where Watson and Aaron Jones, having those guys in, having that depth.
Yeah.
Especially then, too, of all the experience now the second string, third string receivers are getting, it will be crucial just having that depth long term. So, But I think even bigger than that, though, going up against this Lions defense, they need David Bakhtiari and Elkin Jenkins to come back in and play. They were both inactive today in week 3. And I haven't seen anything else of other offensive line injuries that occurred during the game. But I don't know if you've seen anything yet from that.
I haven't seen anything. We are recording this Sunday night, so a lot of the injury reports for this week haven't really come out as of yet. So
another major one as well for the Packers. Jair Alexander did not play, and so if they're going to want any shot of stopping Amon-Ra St. Brown, they're going to want him to play. So it's going to be a good matchup. I think it's going to be equally fair because both teams are missing offensive linemen, and both teams are missing some skill position players and some defensive players. How that is going to react, so I think it's going to be a fairly equal matchup if those guys were playing. And if it's completely healthy across the board. So with all that, kind of what are your overall thoughts coming in? What does each team need to do to come out victorious?
So for me, I think the Lions, they need to come in and just like do what they do. Like, right, they've been playing great defense all year. Granted, at the Seahawks game, maybe not so much, but they made good defensive plays in that game. And what they were able to do with the Falcons, I think, also showed that they were playing really good defense too. So for me, come in, play good defense, get after Jordan Love. He definitely looks uncomfortable when he gets pressure. When the Saints were really struggling with him and kind of allowed this comeback was when they let off the gas on that pass rush, and then they were dropping more guys into coverage, and he was able to kind of dice them up. He has the arm strength to zip balls right through zone coverage. So that to me, I think, is going to be the big thing for them. I am going to pick the Lions to win this one. On Thursday night games, they're a little awkward because they're coming off a short week. I do think, in a weird way, the Lions are healthier and at fuller strength. Unless Christian Watson and Aaron Jones do somehow come back for a Thursday night game. Although if they didn't play Sunday, them being able to play on Thursday is not likely. In my unprofessional opinion. So
I will say I did see in pregame, it looked like Aaron Jones was running a lot of routes. That was him, and so maybe they were just holding him just to be safe, just get him even more prepped for this divisional matchup. Knowing as well, like if they win this, like let's say they lose against the Saints, they go to 1-2, and the Lions win, they go to 2-1. But then if they win on Thursday, they'll both be 2-2, and they'll have a divisional record. So I could see that logic going into it, and then they ended up winning today as well. So I could see that logic playing out, and maybe the same thing with Watson as well. His hamstring seems to be, I don't know if he's on your fantasy team, so I'm sure you've been following him a little bit more. It seems to be a little bit more serious.
Yeah, so the report was like he almost played in week 1, and then they were like he just wasn't comfortable running full speed yet, and then all of a sudden, like week 2, it's like week 2 rolls around. He was limited in practice on Thursday, and then he didn't play again Sunday, and then he was absent in practice, I think, for most of week 3. And so it's just like kind of this weird waiting game. I am curious, like maybe when he came back in practice, he might have re-aggravated it and maybe extended out the time that he's going to miss. So honestly, we'll really just have to see and kind of play it by ear. But for now, I'm sticking with the Lions. Who are you going with in this matchup?
So I'm also going to go with the Lions as well. I think they're just a little more consistent just overall on both sides of the ball. One thing with Green Bay, if you go back to week 2 and week 3, they've played essentially one full game of really great offense and defense, and then one really horrible game of offense and defense where it's very inconsistent, spread out over both games. Fourth quarter of the Falcons game in week 2, all the way then to the end of the third quarter against the Saints. No offensive points put up on the board, and very little offensive production at all. Defensively also gave up a bunch of points during that time as well. But then outside of that, though, first 3 quarters of the Falcons game and the fourth quarter of the Saints game, offensive defenses look great.
Yeah.
Lions, however, I think consistently we're like, we can go put up points on the board whenever we want. Defense in general is very dynamic, good pass rush, good run defense, and then at the same time, solid secondary play from both Brian Branch and then not CJ Gardner-Johnson.
Cameron Sutton.
Sorry, I knew there's the other free agent guy. And so just in general, they just look more consistent. Also, too, on top of that, I'm just looking back at my picks. I've not done well so far this season. If I win all the primetime games, I'll get back to 500 for the season. And so part of my strategy as well, I predicted the Lions to go long. So like I'm going to go back to my early season prediction, trust my gut. I think the Lions are going to pull this one out here.
Yeah, I think so too. I think the Lions are kind of built for this game, and we saw the fits that Dan Campbell was able to give this Aaron Rodgers led offense at the end of last year. And in my honest opinion, I don't think a whole lot has really changed schematically for this Packers offense. I think the players, like the skill position players, are more experienced, but I still think they're running a lot of the same concepts with Jordan Love. I think maybe they're targeting the middle of the field a little bit more, but that's not to say that they don't throw it outside the numbers.
They have a lot more speed, and we're seeing this now with Jaden Reed and Sam Corey. And then what they get with them on the outside, their deeper threat, Dontavian Wicks, for example, is during this Christian Watson absence has been. I think he scored a touchdown the past 2 games actually also. So I need to go back and double check. But
did he score a touchdown today?
I thought he did. Let me go back and double check here. I want to be correct on that. But either way, though, they're spreading the ball out tremendously amongst the young receiving core and giving everybody an opportunity. So it keeps defenses on their toes. A lot of that, I think, starts from the offensive system that they're in. Let me pull this up here. I know. Yeah. So Dobbs.
Samori Torrey scored a touchdown. No.
Dobbs scored the touchdown. Sorry.
Yeah. Torrey caught a 2-point conversion.
That's what it was. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what it was. Either way, though. But still, just very diverse across. And if Watson and Jones are able to come back, I think that would be great. I think you can almost make an argument that Bakhtiari and Jenkins coming back is more important. Give Jordan Love that time.
Yeah.
Help that offense be as balanced as possible.
Especially, I think this defensive front, they do a very good job, as you saw as a Falcons fan this past week, of getting after the passer. Just even creating pressures is something that they just do very, very well. So it's going to be a really interesting one. I will definitely be tuning in at 8:20, I believe, is when Thursday Night Football starts. So I will be watching that. I think that's going to wrap up this video here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below on who you think is going to come ahead in this Thursday Night Football matchup. Is it going to be the Green Bay Packers? Is it going to be the Detroit Lions? Let us know down below. Know that. We'll see you guys next time.